The laughter was loud, too loud for a place like this. Crystal lights hung from the ceiling. Soft music floated through the air. White tablecloths covered the long table in the private dining room. Darnell stood near his coworkers, holding a glass of expensive wine. His suit was sharp. His smile was cruel. "Look at her," he said, pointing. "She's been unemployed for 6 months." The men around the table laughed. Some shook their heads. Others leaned back in their chairs like they were watching a show. "I'm basically running a charity," Darnell added. More laughter followed. Kesha stood still near the edge of the table. Her hands tightened around her worn leather purse. Her boots were dusty. Her shirt was plain and faded. She felt the heat rise in her chest, but she did not speak. She never spoke in moments like this. The restaurant was one of the most exclusive places in Atlanta. It smelled like money. It sounded like power. And she did not look like she belonged. That was exactly how Darnell wanted it. They all looked at her. Not one of them knew the truth. They did not know that the woman standing there was the owner of a private investment firm. They did not know that her company had just bought the supply chain business they worked for. They did not know that their futures were already sitting in her hands. Kesha King had learned something important a long time ago. People reveal everything when they think you are nothing. She stayed quiet. Her silence was not weakness, it was survival. At 32 years old, Kesha had mastered the art of being invisible. She had learned it during 3 years of marriage to Darnell King, a man whose ego filled every room, a man who needed applause like oxygen. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration. Earlier that afternoon, Darnell had called her suddenly. His voice had been loud and proud. "Meet me at El Jardin," he said. "I closed a big deal." She had been standing in a dusty warehouse on the edge of Decatur. She wore steel-toed boots. Her black shirt was covered in dirt. She had been inspecting inventory. She did not have time to change. She barely had time to breathe. But when your husband calls you to celebrate his success, you go. That was the rule she lived by. She drove her old Honda through Atlanta traffic. The heat pressed against her skin. Her phone buzzed with messages she ignored. When she reached the restaurant, the valet looked at her car with clear disgust. It was parked between luxury vehicles that cost more than her first apartment. She handed him the keys without saying a word. She kept her head high. She knew something he did not. She could buy every car in that lot without blinking. But she did not need anyone to know that. Darnell did not know it either. To the world, she was the burned-out former finance manager, the wife who quit her job to find herself, the woman with no income. In reality, she was a venture capitalist. She had quietly built a portfolio worth millions. She paid off Darnell's debts without his knowledge. She funded his lifestyle while he took credit for success. She saw him before he saw her. Darnell stood near the entrance, checking his reflection in the glass. His suit was expensive. She had paid for it. When he noticed her, his face tightened. There was no warmth, no relief. He walked toward her and grabbed her arm. His fingers pressed hard. "You're late," he whispered, "and look at you." She pulled her arm away. "I was working," she said quietly. He laughed. "Working on what? That little hobby of yours?" His eyes scanned her clothes with disgust. "You're embarrassing me." He turned and walked away. He expected her to follow. For a moment, she almost left. She almost turned around and went home, but she stayed. She needed to see this version of him. She needed to remember it. The private dining room was filled with men in matching suits. They were already drunk, already loud. At the head of the table sat Tiffany, Darnell's sister-in-law. Tiffany wore confidence like armor. Her dress sparkled. Her smile was sharp. As Kesha approached, the room went quiet. Tiffany spoke first. "Oh wow," she said loudly. "You actually came dressed like that?" The table laughed. "In my culture," Tiffany continued, "a woman's appearance reflects her husband's success." More laughter. Kesha felt the sting but stayed calm. Darnell waved his hand. "She never listens," he said. "But sit at the end, Kesha. We're talking business." He placed his briefcase in the chair beside him. She walked to the far end of the table. Near the service door, away from everyone, she sat down. "Dead weight," Darnell said casually, lifting his glass. Her hands clenched under the table. Dead weight. The woman who had saved him from financial ruin. The woman who paid his debts in silence. They talked about bonuses, about promotions, about the new ownership. Darnell bragged loudly. He lied easily. Then she heard the name. Phoenix Holdings, her company, the men toasted to Darnell's future. He believed a promotion was waiting. She knew something else was waiting. Tiffany leaned toward her. "Still unemployed?" she asked sweetly. "That must be so hard." Darnell laughed. "Don't pick on her," he said, "but projects don't pay bills." The waiter brought wine, expensive wine. Darnell poured for everyone except her. "Just water for you," he said. "I don't want you embarrassing me." She sipped her water. She watched. She listened. Then the bill arrived. Darnell reached for his card with confidence. He slid it across the table. The waiter returned. "Sir," he said quietly. The card was declined. The room froze. Darnell's face changed. Shock, then rage. He demanded another card. No one helped him. Then he turned to her. "Give me your card," he said. She looked up calmly. "I thought you were paying," she said. The room held its breath. And in that moment, everything began to shift. The silence around the table felt heavy, too heavy. Darnell stared down at her. His jaw was tight. His eyes burned with anger. "Give me the card," he said again. His voice was low, sharp, dangerous. She stayed seated. She did not raise her voice. She did not rush. "I thought this dinner was your celebration," she said. "You said success looks like this." A few men shifted in their chairs. Someone cleared his throat. Darnell laughed, but it sounded forced. "Don't do this," he snapped. "You know I don't carry cash." He leaned closer. "Hand it over, now." She shook her head slowly. "You said I don't contribute," she replied. "So why should I pay?" The words landed like glass on marble. Darnell's face darkened. He grabbed her purse from the table. Gasps echoed through the room. "Hey," she said sharply, standing up. The restaurant had gone quiet. Other diners stared. Darnell dumped the contents of her purse onto the table. Lipstick, keys, personal items. Tiffany made a sound of disgust. Darnell snatched her card and threw it at the waiter. "Run it," he barked. The waiter hesitated, then nodded and walked away. Darnell turned back to the table, forcing a smile. "Bank error," he said. "My wife forgets to manage money." Tiffany laughed nervously. "She's lucky you're patient," she said. Kesha bent down and calmly picked up her things. Her hands did not shake. The waiter returned. "It went through, sir," Darnell smirked. "Of course it did." He turned to her. "Sit down." She did not. "No," she said clearly. "We're done." She walked toward the door. Darnell shouted after her. "You're walking home?" She stopped and turned. "I hope it was worth it," she said. She walked out. The night air hit her skin. The valet rushed to get her car. She drove away. Behind her, Darnell believed he had won. He did not know that by using her card for business, after being removed as an authorized user, he had created proof. Proof that would destroy him. The drive home was silent. Darnell slammed the door and sped off. He hated the car. He hated that it was hers. "You embarrassed me," he snapped, "in front of everyone." "You embarrassed yourself," she replied calmly. He laughed bitterly. "You think you're powerful now." She did not answer. Her mind drifted backward. 2 years earlier, a small apartment, a hot summer night. She sat at the kitchen table staring at her laptop. The savings account balance read 0. She refreshed the page. Still 0. The money was gone, $50,000, their future. The bank confirmed it. The transfer was authorized by Darnell. He walked in whistling. She asked where the money was. He smiled and said it was an investment. A crypto tip. 3 days later, the market crashed. The money vanished. Then came the loans, high interest, taken out in her name. Threatening calls followed. She sold her grandmother's jewelry to stop legal action. Family history, gone. Darnell never apologized. He told her she panicked too much. That night, something inside her died. She began planning quietly. She created a company, a private firm. She named it Phoenix Holdings. She built it in silence. Back in the present, Darnell broke her thoughts. "You're hoarding money," he said. "You owe me access." "No," she replied. "You're nothing without me," he laughed. She turned and looked at him. Really looked. "You're right," she said softly. "Things are going to change." At home, he demanded she fix the card issue. She nodded. She went straight to her office, locked the door. She opened her laptop. She logged into Phoenix Holdings. She pulled up the investigation file. There it was, the dinner charge, unauthorized, flagged. She added it to the case. She picked up her phone. "Begin protocol," she said. "Yes, ma'am." The trap was set. The next afternoon, the sun burned bright. They went to a family barbecue at Tiffany's house. Tiffany greeted them with a fake smile. She looked Kesha up and down. "You look comfortable," she said. "That's brave." She pulled Kesha into the kitchen. "We're short-staffed," Tiffany said. "Help out." She shoved a tray into her hands. Outside, Darnell laughed with guests. He leaned close to a woman by the pool. Jessica. Young, polished. Darnell bragged. He lied. He claimed leadership. Control. Kesha watched. She offered crab cakes. Darnell waved her away. "She helps out," he said. "Not wife, not partner, help." Tiffany cornered her. "He's networking," Tiffany hissed. "You're lucky he keeps you." "Lucky?" Kesha smiled faintly. She sent a message. One message. The phone rang. Jessica's face changed mid-call. Shock, disgust. She hung up. She turned to Darnell. "You lied," she said loudly. "You're not in charge." The crowd went silent. Kesha stepped forward. "Here's your ice," she said calmly. Darnell's world cracked. The party was over. But the reckoning had only begun. The backyard fell silent. No music, no laughter. Darnell stood frozen by the pool. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Jessica stepped back from him. Her face was tight with disgust. "You're married," she said, "and you lied to me." People nearby pretended not to listen, but everyone heard. Darnell glanced at Kesha. His eyes were wide, afraid. "Kesha," he whispered, "what did you do?" She did not raise her voice. She did not smile. "I told the truth," she said. Jessica picked up her purse. She looked at Kesha with respect. "I would have fired him years ago," she said quietly. She walked away. The guests stared, some whispered. Others avoided eye contact. Tiffany dropped her glass. It shattered on the stone patio. Darnell grabbed Kesha's arm. "We're leaving," he hissed. She pulled away. "We'll talk at home," she said. The drive back was tense. The air inside the car felt thick. Darnell exploded the moment they parked. "You ruined everything," he shouted. "You humiliated me again." She looked straight ahead. "You did that yourself." He scoffed. "You think you're in control?" She stayed calm. "You need to transfer access back to me," he said. "You're abusing me financially." The words were almost funny. She said nothing. Inside the house, he drank beer and paced. She went to her office. She locked the door. She opened her computer. The screen lit her face in blue. She reviewed reports. Expenses, receipts, her eyes narrowed. There it was. The dinner charge, filed as a business expense, paid by her card, submitted by him, then more. Trips labeled client meetings. Flights, hotels, bars, none of it matched. She dug deeper. Uber rides late at night, luxury stores, a laptop bought and sent to his brother. Her stomach turned. This was not carelessness. It was theft. She started saving files. Screenshots, statements. She built a folder. She named it clearly. She felt no fear, only focus. While she worked, Darnell slept peacefully. The next morning, her phone rang. The hospital, her mother had collapsed. A stroke, severe. Kesha rushed there immediately. Doctors moved fast. Machines beeped. They needed insurance approval. The documents were in the safe at home. Darnell had changed the code. She called him. No answer. She called again. Voicemail. She called a third time. He answered, annoyed. "What?" he said. "I need the safe code," she said. "My mother is dying." He sighed loudly. "I'm busy," he said. "I'm golfing." Her hands shook. "Please," she begged. "They need it now." He laughed. "She's always sick," he said. "Stop being dramatic." Tiffany's voice joined in. "Let nature take its course," she said. "She's a burden." Kesha felt something snap. Darnell hung up. The phone went dead. The fear disappeared. She walked to the desk calmly. She pulled out a black card. She placed it down. "Run it," she said. Approval came instantly. The doctors rushed in. Her mother was taken into surgery. Kesha held her hand until the doors closed. She stood alone in the hallway. She did not cry. She opened her phone. She opened a draft email. She added one line. "Immediate audit required." She hit save. War had been declared. That night she returned home late. The house was bright. Too bright. Darnell stood surrounded by boxes and decorations. "The chairman is coming tomorrow," he said. "Phoenix Holdings." She watched him panic. He looked at her clothes, at her face. "You need to leave," he said. "You'll ruin this." She tilted her head. "You want me gone?" "Yes," he said quickly. "Just for a few days." "Tiffany will host," he added. She nodded slowly. "Okay," she said. He smiled in relief. She packed quietly, not casual clothes. Business clothes, power clothes. She walked out without looking back. She did not go to a friend, she did not go to family. She went to the Ritz, the presidential suite. She looked out at the city, she made one call. "Is the car ready?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am, and the paperwork?" "All prepared." She smiled. Tomorrow Darnell would meet the chairman, he just didn't know she was already on her way. The house no longer felt like a home. It felt like a stage. Furniture had been moved, family photos were gone, strange art hung on the walls. Darnell paced the living room in a tuxedo. He kept checking his watch, his hands shook as he adjusted his cuffs. "This has to be perfect," he muttered. The catering staff moved quietly around him. Trays of food, crystal glasses, expensive bottles opened too early. Then Tiffany appeared at the top of the stairs. She was wearing an emerald green dress. Kesha's dress. A vintage silk gown Kesha had never worn, saved for a moment that mattered. Darnell smiled when he saw Tiffany. "You look incredible," he said, "much better than she ever did." Tiffany laughed. She didn't have the presence for it. They toasted. They planned, they lied. "The chairman likes power," Darnell said. "He needs to see success." Tiffany nodded. "She won't be back," she said. "She knows her place." The doorbell rang. Darnell's co-workers arrived first. Loud, confident. Already drinking, they laughed about Kesha. They called her a mouse, a burden, a mistake. Darnell encouraged it. "She's gone," he said proudly. "I sent her away." They cheered. Tiffany leaned against him. "This house finally feels right," she said. Headlights flashed through the windows. Bright, powerful. A hush fell over the room. "He's here," Darnell whispered. Outside, a black Rolls-Royce stopped in front of the house. Security stepped out first. Darnell's heart raced. "This is it," he said. "My moment." The back door of the car opened. A red heel touched the ground, not a man's shoe. A woman stepped out. White suit. Sharp lines, calm posture. The porch light revealed her face. Tiffany gasped. Darnell dropped his glass. "No," he whispered. The woman walked up the driveway slowly. Every step echoed. She stopped at the door. "Hello, Darnell," she said. His knees nearly gave out. "Kesha?" She stepped inside. "I believe you were expecting the chairman," she said. Silence swallowed the room. The men stared. Tiffany trembled. Kesha looked around calmly. "My house looks different," she said. She turned to him. "Show me how you lead." Darnell shook his head. "This isn't real," he said. She reached into her bag and pulled out documents. "The house," she said, dropping them. "Mine. The company," she continued. "Mine." She opened a red folder. Receipts spilled across the table. Trips, fake expenses, shell companies. "You're fired," she said, "for cause." The room erupted. Darnell begged. Tiffany screamed. Kesha did not raise her voice. Security entered. Phones were taken. Laptops collected. Sirens echoed outside. The police arrived. Handcuffs clicked shut. Darnell fell to his knees. "I'm your husband," he cried. She looked down at him. "The marriage ended at the hospital," she said, "when you hung up." They dragged him away. Tiffany fought and screamed. The dress tore as they pulled her out. Silence followed. Kesha stood alone. Her phone buzzed. Her mother was stable. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow would be quiet, but the story was not over yet. The house felt empty after the sirens faded. Too quiet, too clean. Broken glass still covered the floor. Spilled wine stained the rug. The air smelled like fear and expensive cologne. Kesha stood in the middle of the living room. She did not rush. She did not cry. She walked to the window and watched the police cars disappear. Red and blue lights vanished into the dark street. It was over. At least that chapter was. Her phone vibrated softly in her hand. A message from the hospital. Her mother was stable. The surgery had gone well. Kesha closed her eyes and let out a slow breath. For the first time in years, her chest felt light. She went upstairs alone. She packed the rest of her things, only what mattered: documents, clothes she loved, jewelry she bought for herself. She did not take memories. The next morning, sunlight filled the house. Kesha was already gone. 3 months passed. The world kept moving. But Kesha's life looked nothing like before. She sat in a high-rise office overlooking Atlanta. Glass walls, quiet power. Phoenix Holdings filled the floor. Her name was on every document. She wore simple suits now. Clean lines, no need to impress anyone. Her mother was recovering well. Physical therapy, slow walks, soft laughter. Kesha visited her often. They talked about small things, safe things. Darnell did not call her directly, he was not allowed to. But sometimes, her phone showed a number from the jail. She never answered. She blocked it. The house in Sandy Springs sold quickly, fully furnished. No questions asked. The money went straight into her accounts. Only hers. She closed the door on that life without looking back. At work, the board respected her. They listened when she spoke. They stood when she entered. Meetings were quiet. Decisions were sharp. Phoenix Holdings grew. One afternoon, her assistant knocked gently. "The board is ready," he said, "and there's one more thing." She looked up. "There's been a request," he continued. "From the legal team." Kesha's eyes narrowed slightly. "What kind of request?" she asked. He hesitated. "Darnell wants to speak to you," he said, "about a settlement." The room went still. Kesha leaned back in her chair. Her expression did not change. Outside the window, the city stretched endlessly. She had buried her past. But sometimes, the past tried to crawl back. She stood up slowly. "Schedule the meeting," she said, "but not here." Her assistant nodded. As he left, Kesha looked at her reflection in the glass. She saw strength. She saw calm, but she also knew something. This was not the final move, because the man who once mocked her was about to ask for mercy, and she had not decided yet what justice would look like. The meeting was scheduled for the following week, not at her office, not anywhere familiar. Kesha chose a neutral place, a quiet legal conference room downtown, glass walls, no comfort, no power games. She arrived early, as always. She sat alone at the table, hands folded, back straight. She did not feel nervous. She felt prepared. The door opened. Darnell walked in with his lawyer. He looked smaller than she remembered. Thinner, older. The confidence was gone, so was the smile. He did not look at her at first. They sat across from her. The chair scraped softly against the floor. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," his lawyer said. Kesha nodded once, nothing more. Darnell finally lifted his eyes. They were red, tired. "Kesha," he said quietly. She did not respond. "We're here to discuss a possible settlement," the lawyer continued, "to avoid a long legal process." Kesha listened. She said nothing. Darnell cleared his throat. "I made mistakes," he said. "I was under pressure." She tilted her head slightly. "Pressure," she repeated. "That's what you call it." He flinched. "I lost everything," he said. "My job, my reputation. My freedom," he added softly. She leaned forward for the first time. "You lost those things," she said, "because of your choices." Silence followed. The lawyer slid a document across the table. An offer, numbers, conditions. Kesha did not touch it. "You want forgiveness," she said calmly, "but what you're asking for is escape." Darnell's hands trembled. "I loved you," he said, "in my way." She stood up. "No," she said, "you loved what I provided." She gathered her bag. "This meeting is over." The lawyer looked alarmed. Darnell stood suddenly. "Please," he said, "just listen." She stopped at the door. "I did," she said, "for years." She walked out. That evening, Kesha sat with her mother on the balcony. The sky was soft with sunset. Her mother squeezed her hand. "You did the right thing," she said gently. Kesha smiled. But later that night, alone in her apartment, her phone buzzed again. A message from her legal team. Urgent. She opened it. The words were short, direct. "New evidence has surfaced." Kesha's eyes narrowed. She knew one thing for certain. The story was not finished yet, not even close. The meeting was scheduled for the following week, not at her office, not anywhere familiar. Kesha chose a neutral place. A quiet legal conference room downtown. Glass walls, no comfort, no power games. She arrived early, as always. She sat alone at the table. Hands folded, back straight. She did not feel nervous. She felt prepared. The door opened. Darnell walked in with his lawyer. He looked smaller than she remembered. Thinner, older. The confidence was gone, so was the smile. He did not look at her at first. They sat across from her. The chair scraped softly against the floor. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," his lawyer said. Kesha nodded once, nothing more. Darnell finally lifted his eyes. They were red, tired. "Kesha," he said quietly. She did not respond. "We're here to discuss a possible settlement," the lawyer continued, "to avoid a long legal process." Kesha listened. She said nothing. Darnell cleared his throat. "I made mistakes," he said. "I was under pressure." She tilted her head slightly. "Pressure," she repeated. That's what you call it. He flinched. I lost everything, he said. My job, my reputation. My freedom, he added softly. She leaned forward for the first time. You lost those things, she said, because of your choices. Silence followed. The lawyer slid a document across the table. An offer, numbers, conditions. Kesha did not touch it. You want forgiveness, she said calmly. But what you're asking for is escape. Darnell's hands trembled. I loved you, he said. In my way, she stood up. No, she said. You loved what I provided. She gathered